Hey there, and welcome back to the deep dive. Think about this. You see someone running a marathon, right? They're struggling, pushing through, and what do?
You cheer.
Totally. You yell, "You got this, keep going." Or maybe, you're at a game or a friend nails a big project.
Yeah, that high five comes right up.
Exactly. You celebrate their win, you cheer them on. We're so good at giving that energy, that validation, that belief to other people.
Absolutely. It's almost like a reflex, isn't it? That outward flow of encouragement. You see someone trying and
Yeah,
you want to support them. It's a very human thing.
right. But, okay, here's where we start the deep dive. What happens when you try to turn that same energy inward? When you're the one struggling? When you face that challenge? When you look in the mirror?
Yeah, it gets harder.
Why is it so incredibly difficult sometimes to give yourself that same fierce support? Instead of that high five, it's often, well, critique, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or doubt. Or just that heavy sigh, that, ugh.
That difference, that internal contrast,
Mm.
that's really the core of what we're getting into today. It's a kind of wake-up call about the voice we listen to most, our own.
Okay, so today we're diving into something that sounds, well, almost too simple. It's from Mel Robbins' book, The High Five Habit. And it really just starts with one small thing you do every day.
High five.
A high five. To yourself.
Yeah.
In the mirror.
Yeah. And drawing from the book, our mission here is to unpack how this isn't just, a feel-good gesture. It's positioned as a kind of shortcut, a powerful way to actually rewire your brain for more confidence, more emotional strength.
So how it can break those automatic negative thought loops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interrupting self-doubt, building real momentum, and maybe even fundamentally changing the most important relationship you've got.
The one with yourself.
The one with yourself.
Mm.
Making that person in the mirror your biggest ally, not your biggest critic.
Okay, so where did this even come from? Mel Robbins describes this moment.
Yeah, she talks about standing in her bathroom one morning, just feeling completely overwhelmed, exhausted. And her first reaction looking in the mirror was exactly that. Ugh.
Familiar feeling for many, I bet.
Totally. And she started picking herself apart. The dark circles, this line, that saggy bit. And then her mind just piled on. The to-do list?
Oh yeah, the mental list. Zoom calls, deadlines.
Emails, walk the dog, worry about her dad's health stuff, the kids' needs. Just feeling totally buried under it all.
That desperate feeling like you just need someone to give you a break. Or a really good pep talk.
Yes. But realizing she couldn't even give it to herself. It's a really common place to find yourself, unfortunately.
And it really highlights that contrast you mentioned earlier. Like Mel talks about running the NYC marathon.
Right. Needing those high fives from total strangers on the sidelines just to keep putting one foot in front of the other. That external energy, it literally pulls you forward when you feel like you've got nothing left.
But for our own internal marathon, our daily lives.
We often do the exact opposite. We become the heckler on the sidelines for ourselves. We trash talk. We zoom in on flaws. We tear down our own ideas before they even get going. We argue against our own goal.
We give grace and belief to, like everyone else.
But we'll hold it from ourselves.
Yeah.
And the book's core message is pretty blunt about this. Self-worth, self-esteem, self-love, confidence. They don't just magically appear from outside. They have to be built within you. It's time to turn that encouragement inward.
It's worth pausing here maybe just for a second. Think about how you talk to a friend who's down versus how you talk to yourself in the same situation.
It's often worlds apart, isn't it?
Definitely. So, okay, how does this simple habit, the high five, fit in?
Well, Mel describes it as this spontaneous thing that happened in that moment of feeling tired and overwhelmed. Standing there, she just lifted her hand to her reflection. Almost like a salute, she says.
And the thought behind it was simple.
Incredibly simple, basically. I see you. That's all I wanted to say. I see you and I love you. Come on now, Mel. You've got this.
It wasn't some grand strategy, just a raw impulse. A moment of connection aimed at herself.
And that impulse became the habit.
That impulse became the foundation. Start every day with a high five in the mirror. The book frames it as something you need to learn, understand why it works, and then practice. Make it non-negotiable.
But it's more than just like slapping the mirror, right?
Oh, much more. It's presented as a whole approach, a mindset really, with tools that work together to start reprogramming those deep-seated subconscious patterns. It's about actively improving that relationship with yourself.
And what does it feel like? What's the immediate effect people report?
It can be surprisingly powerful just standing there, looking at yourself, not just scanning for flaws, but really being with yourself and then high-fiving that person. People say their minds go quiet.
Yeah, or they get this unexpected jolt of energy.
Yeah.
Or just a sense of comfort, like, okay, it'll be okay, or you got this. It's a moment to actually tell yourself, I love you, I see you, I believe in you, let's go.
It sounds like instant validation, like physical proof that you're showing up for yourself.
Exactly. Proof that you are still standing, still smiling, and that no matter what happens today, you have your own back.
Mhm.
And, the book also mentions that default mirror face.
Oh, yeah, the critical stare.
That's the one, where you subconsciously focus on what you don't like. It's like a well-worn path, a rut of negative thinking. The physical act of the high five literally interrupts that default pattern, snaps you out of it.
Okay, so let's get into the why. There's actual science behind this simple action.
There is some really interesting stuff. It connects to research on something called neurobics.
Neurobics, like aerobics for your brain.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping your brain flexible and fit. The idea, from researchers like Dr. Lawrence Katz, is about pairing a routine activity, something you do automatically, like looking in the mirror, with something unexpected.
Something that uses your senses in a new way.
Exactly. And an emotion. So here you have the routine, mirror, the unexpected sensory input, physical high five, and the emotion, celebration, belief, support.
Okay, so it's like that classic example of brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand forces your brain to wake up.
Precisely that. That unexpected element acts like brain fertilizer, they call it. It helps create new neural pathways, making your brain learn new habits faster. The high five puts your brain on alert, linking the action to that positive emotional state.
And doing it over and over helps cement that link.
Yes, repetition is key. The more you do it, the more your brain starts to associate your own reflection with feelings of confidence, celebration, support. You're actively, consciously reprogramming your subconscious default, flipping it from criticism to acceptance, and hopefully eventually to love.
This sounds like it ties into how our brains filter everything. You mentioned the reticular activating system, the RAS.
It absolutely does. Think of the RAS as your brain's gatekeeper, or maybe a bouncer at a club. It's sorting through the absolute flood of information hitting you every second.
And deciding what gets VIP access to your conscious mind.
You got it. Filtering out like 99% of stuff.
Mm.
And what it decides is important enough to let through is largely based on what you focus on, what you repeat, what you tell it matters.
So if your internal soundtrack is negative, I'm not good enough, I always fail.
Then your RAS goes looking for proof. It filters your experiences to show you more evidence that supports that negative belief. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy loop.
So the high five is like giving the bouncer new instructions, retraining the filter.
Yeah, kind of like that. You're cleaning the filter. By consistently performing this act of self-support, feeling that belief, you're signaling to your RAS, hey, this is important now. My potential, my strengths, opportunities, focus on this. You're training it to let go of the old negative programming and start highlighting the positive.
Wow, that's actually huge. It's not just about changing how you feel, but changing what your brain literally pays attention to.
And it connects directly to this flipped concept in the book. Taking a limiting belief and not just ignoring it, but consciously flipping its meaning.
How does that work?
Well, if you believe, say, I ruin everything, the flip isn't just, no, I don't. It's recognizing the underlying power in that belief. If you believe you're powerful enough to ruin things, then you're also powerful enough to create amazing things. You've just been aiming your power at making garbage, as the book puts it, instead of glitter.
So it's about redirecting that inherent power.
Exactly. Shifting, I screw everything up, something like, okay, I forgive myself for that mistake, and every day I am becoming a better version of myself. That's fundamentally different instruction for your RAS.
And the book mentions that just repeating generic affirmations like, I love myself, might not work if you don't actually believe it deep down.
Right. Research backs that up. If it feels fake, it can almost backfire. So the emphasis is on finding meaningful mantras, statements that feel true, or at least believable for you right now.
Things like, I deserve to feel good today, or I am enough, just as I am, or even just, I can handle this.
Yes. Those kinds of things. Pairing those believable statements with the physical high five, maybe writing them on the mirror, it makes them stickier. The action reinforces the belief. You're acting like someone who supports themselves.
Okay, but what about when you first start? I mean, honestly, high-fiving a mirror, doesn't it feel a bit awkward?
Right.
Or does it bring up weird emotions?
Oh, absolutely. The book is very clear. Expect emotions. Feeling awkward, maybe silly, sure.
Yeah.
But also feeling overwhelmed, crying. That's apparently really common.
Like it unlocks something.
Yeah, people describe it feeling like their soul was just waiting for that acknowledgement, like Alyssa's story in the book, or like Wendy feeling she was releasing old blocks. It can feel surprisingly exhausting before it feels energizing.
That makes sense if you think about self-acceptance research. It's supposedly the biggest predictor of happiness.
Yet often the thing we practice least. So this simple physical act of kindness towards yourself can tap into something deep and unmet.
Why are we often so hard on ourselves in the first place? Does the book get into that?
It does touch on it. Suggests it's often learned, absorbed from our environment growing up, family dynamics, things like moving a lot, being bullied, experiencing discrimination, poverty, abuse. These can leave you with this deep-seated feeling that something is wrong with me.
And that's not your fault.
Absolutely not your fault. But, the book argues, breaking that pattern is your responsibility now. The high five won't magically erase past trauma, but it starts to change you, making you stronger and more resilient to face your circumstances.
And it's important to say this isn't about pretending problems don't exist, right? Like toxic positivity.
Yeah. Crucially, no. Life is hard. There's unfairness, trauma, loss. The habit doesn't deny that. It's about strengthening you to be better equipped to navigate those realities. You can't change the past, but you can empower yourself for what comes next.
It feels like a really foundational shift, like towards actually putting yourself on your own priority list.
Nina's insight in the book really hits us how easily we cure for others, but not ourselves. Making that morning high five a definite thing is like it's taking a claim for your own needs right at the start. Before the emails, before social media, before everyone else's demands rush in.
One small act, but it sets a different tone for the day. What about those really sticky emotions, though, like guilt or fear? How does the habit help with those?
Yeah, the book gets into dismantling those. Take guilt, often self-inflicted, right?
Yeah.
Tied to our values, sure, but also massively fueled by worrying about what others will think. Fear of disappointment.
People pleasing.
Exactly. Which the book frames as kind of trying to manipulate or control others' feelings, often by sacrificing your own needs. Like Mel's story about the pool table compromising because she anticipated someone else's disappointment.
So how does the high five help break that?
It builds inner strength. Courage and confidence, the book says, dissolve that unproductive guilt. There's productive guilt motivates change, and then there's destructive guilt or shame. I am bad. The high five reinforces your worth, making it easier to stand firm in your choices. Asking, is this guilt helping me grow or just making me feel awful, becomes easier. Choosing appreciation for yourself and others over guilt.
Okay, and what about fear and overthinking, that paralysis loop?
Yeah, overthinking paralysis.
Yeah.
Fear of change is totally normal. Your brain is wired to see change as risky. Goal is to shift from mental circling to actual physical steps, however small.
Like Eduardo's story, dreaming of acting but stuck driving Uber.
Exactly, waiting for the perfect time, which never comes. His RAS was basically programmed to find all the reasons not to try. It's funny, we can see those blocks so clearly in others.
But miss them entirely in ourselves.
Totally. So the book suggests practical things, like setting a deadline, say, 3 weeks to create urgency, then breaking the goal into tiny daily actions, building a runway. Sometimes you need that push, like Mel gave Eduardo, but the habit helps build the internal push, retraining your RAS to look for solutions, not just obstacles.
And the tears that might come up with that.
Just emotional release.
Yeah.
A sign that your inner confidence is waking up saying, hey, you actually are capable of this. The biggest risk is often doing nothing. Failure is part of the process, usually leading to success later. It's your dream. You got to take action.
Okay, one more big one. The need for approval, for fitting in. How does this connect?
Oh, that pressure starts young, doesn't it? Middle school cafeteria vibes. Trying to fit in, the book argues, ultimately makes you miserable because you're not being authentic. Life experiences criticism, discrimination can deepen that feeling of not belonging, leading you to constantly scan the room, trying to figure out how to be accepted.
Which sounds exhausting and anxiety-provoking.
Hugely. Especially, as the book notes, for women who might be socialized more strongly to play certain roles. But the real question needs to become, do you like you? Caring about others is good, but honoring your own feelings has to come first.
If you value yourself, you don't need constant outside validation.
Precisely. Mel shares feeling embarrassed about being a life coach initially, projecting her own insecurity. She realized she was her harshest judge. Most people weren't thinking about her nearly as much as she thought.
So the flip it is switching from what will everyone think to,
My happiness, my authenticity is more important than anyone else's opinion of it. Like Catherine choosing divorce despite fearing judgment, her life improved dramatically because she chose herself. The high five builds that internal foundation.
so we have the morning mirror high five. Are there other ways to use this kind of self-support during the day?
Yes, definitely. The book introduces the high five your heart. Super simple, super powerful, just placing your hand on your heart.
And saying something.
Yeah, telling yourself, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved.
How does that work? Why the heart?
It's a direct line to calming your nervous system. That physical touch, the gentle pressure, activates the vagus nerve. That's the nerve linked to your rest and digest system, the opposite of fight or flight.
So it helps when you're stressed or anxious.
Exactly. Because research, like Dr. Judy Willis's work mentioned, suggests when you're in that high-stress survival mode, your brain actually has trouble taking in new information, especially positive stuff. You need to calm the system first before affirmations or pep talks can really land.
So it doesn't erase the stressful situation.
No, but it changes your internal state so you can face it better. Use it anytime stuck in traffic, before a big meeting, when old trauma feelings surface. The stories in the book, like Jenny's flight scare or Maria using it for daily anxiety, show how immediate it can be.
And talking to yourself in the third person helps too, like, you're okay.
Yeah, research suggests that creates a bit of psychological distance, like a kind friend reassuring you. Adds objectivity.
Okay, the book also talks about manifesting. How does that fit in? And is it woo?
It's framed very practically, actually. Less magic wand. More about deliberately training your RAS and building unwavering belief. The painting story is the key example.
Right. Seeing a painting, feeling that pull. Someday I'll own this, even though it seemed impossible then.
Exactly. She couldn't afford it, put the idea away, but didn't dismiss it entirely. Her RAS, maybe because of the Zeigarnik effect, the brain remembering unfinished tasks kept it simmering. That openness to possibility fuels confidence.
But it's not just wishing.
No. Crucially, the book says manifesting effectively means visualizing the work, the discomfort, the grind required to get the dream, not just the finish line. The late nights, the rejections, the bad dates, whatever it is, that prepares you for when it inevitably gets hard.
And then the coincidence happens, like finding the sister painting years later.
Right. It feels like magic, but the book suggests it's belief plus a primed RAS spotting opportunities plus consistent action, even small action. The Vermont story is similar.
Feeling restless, resisting change, getting that weird psychic validation.
And then the perfect house, appearing right before the pandemic. It forced her to stop the busyness, sit with discomfort, face fears about succeeding outside a big city, realizing busyness was maybe a way to outrun anxiety.
And she had to use these tools in the discomfort.
Yes. Trusting the high five habit, the heart high five, the RAS training, even when things felt uncertain. That allowed her to see possibilities, trust she could build her life there. Those moments, the painting, Vermont, they weren't random blips. They were mile markers created by belief and action, leading to where she is now.
Okay, so putting it all together for daily practice. The book outlines specific habits.
Yeah, like a core routine to build on this foundation, create momentum.
Okay, number 1, put yourself first. Get up when the alarm rings. No snooze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule move before your brain talks you out of it. No phone first thing.
Builds discipline, tells your RAS you mean business, you follow through.
2, tell yourself what you need to hear. Hand on heart. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. Center yourself. Calm your nervous system.
Gets you receptive for the day.
Yeah.
Activates that vagus nerve.
3, give yourself a gift. Make your bed. Simple win. Sense of order, accomplishment.
Small act of discipline creates a nicer environment to come back to.
4, celebrate yourself. The high five in the mirror. Acknowledge your ally. Look yourself in the eye.
Reinforces that core relationship. Non-negotiable.
5, take care of yourself. Put exercise clothes on, even if you don't work out immediately. Lay them out the night before.
Lowers the barrier, makes the healthy choice easier. Another small win.
And 6, train your RAS. Dream in the morning. Journaling first. A brain dump, get the clutter out. Then write down 5 things you actively want.
Directs your focus. Tells your RAS what to look for today. Desires, possibilities, opportunities, not just problems.
So these 6 habits woven together, powered by that core idea of self-support, they really change the trajectory of your day.
They change how you start, how you see yourself, and what your brain actively filters for you throughout the day. It builds on itself.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, We've explored the high five habit and how this seemingly simple action, a high five in the mirror, is actually a pretty profound tool.
Yeah, it's grounded in some real science. Neurobics, helping the brain change, retraining that reticular activating system filter, using the vagus nerve to find calm. And it tackles those big internal blockers: guilt, fear, needing approval.
It really is about interrupting those old negative patterns, building genuine self-worth, and empowering yourself by strengthening the relationship you have with you.
Think about it, that incredible energy, that unwavering belief you pour into others. You champion the people in your life so well.
So the question becomes, why not turn that powerful spotlight inward? You absolutely deserve that same level of fierce championship. The person looking back at you in the mirror, they're your ride or die, your constant ally.
And acknowledging that, celebrating that relationship is where it starts. So the question for you listening is, are you ready? Are you ready to start treating yourself with that same level of support, that same belief that you so freely give away?
What's one small, intentional high five you can give yourself today? Maybe it is in the mirror. Maybe it's placing a hand on your heart when stress hits. Maybe it's starting one of those 6 daily habits tomorrow morning. How will you begin to change how you see the world? By changing how you see the amazing person right there staring back at you. It really does all begin with you choosing to